All right, I think we're rolling. What's going on, guys? My name's Clayton Merrick. I'm the host and running the show here for Aim for the Truth podcast. I have a really good friend here, longtime brother of mine, Josh Kester. We're going to be talking about faith, God, and maybe get into a little bit of eschatology. Point of the podcast for the first episode and through all the rest of them is going to be aiming for the truth and going against the narrative. So, anyway, with that, Josh, how's it going, man?
Good, brother. Glad to be here, man. I know we kind of been talking about jumping on this or making a podcast for a while, so finally got the time together, and hopefully we can deliver some good info, man, for everybody. So coming from you, I'm sure it'll be pretty decent at least.
Yeah, I'll try my best. My mind doesn't always work the clearest, so I might stumble or stutter a little bit here and there, pause to think. But I think what we'll get into first for the viewers, especially those who believe in God, is we all got a story and a past. So, and God has always done work, and anyone who's come to God understands that He's done work and changed you. So, how did you come to knowing God and believing in God, Josh?
Well, I could probably ramble on about that for hours, but I'll keep it short and sweet and right to the point. Honestly, man, so I grew up in a Christian church, Baptist. I mean, just my upbringing in general. My parents took me to church, we talked about God. And then, as we got older, we kind of separated. I wouldn't say entirely separated, but the focus wasn't with God, right? But he was always like in the back of my mind. College and stuff, I've kind of put that secondary, but I would say the strongest relationship in the recent years of my life was probably when I was the worst. I'm on my back. I had a really hard time being separated from my kids. And I had like a relationship there, but I kind of feel like that kind of set the foundation when I was going through it really emotionally, like words and confirmations from other people and, even family and stuff just wasn't enough, right? When you go to your house and you're kind of just stuck in a situation where it's dark, alone, quiet, your kids aren't around, you know what I mean? It's just something just completely ripped out from underneath your feet. And it's like a pain that I've never really felt to that extreme, So from there I just started, I was like, I need to turn to God for this. And I just kind of I need to turn to God and I need to put it in his hands. There's things that are out of my control. I need to allow him to take the reins. I can't control everything. And I had to get into that mindset as a father and a Christian to know that the importance of giving it to God, and that's really all it is. The problems don't go away, but I realized the emotions and everything else, he takes that burden and weight off of us. And from there, I really started truly following him, and this was probably 2 years ago. I was reading, just wanting to spread the truth of like, man, this guy had my back when I was on my back, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he always has. I just didn't turn to him, right? Like the other time. So now it's like I'm always looking to him on the good days and bad days, because it's not just the bad days that we need to look for him. And I just want to spread the word, to everybody else too in the Christian community that he's real. And I feel him all the time, and he's a constant guiding hand.
Yeah, you said some good stuff there. I second that motion as far as did he do anything particular? So you said you grew up in a Baptist home, right? You had a mother and a father in the home, right?
Mhm.
And were they teaching you godly principles and values, or was it kind of just go to church and then, kind of fall in line with the rest of the world after Sunday?
Honestly, brother, I think a lot of it was more so fall in line with the rest of the world, I think. And I also kind of feel like that's where I differentiate with, it's kind of still to this day, like modern Christianity versus authentic kind of Christianity. And that's what I thrive for, not just a check mark. Like, oh, I went to church and
Yeah.
what I mean, checking a box. It's not checking a box, it's a lifestyle. And my parents, they believed, and my mom would be like, let's pray in the morning. My mom said that all the time. We'd pray before we went to school, after school, but we didn't really sit down, as a family and read scriptures. It was more like prayer and let's go to church. But now it's like, no, like he needs to be the foundation. And that's where I need to separate myself and have a higher standard, I guess you could say standard for my relationship with him.
That's interesting that your mom was the leader in your household because
Right.
in the order that God created us for, as the male role, we're the leaders, supposed to be the leaders in the household, not only to provide financially, but spiritually and physically, right? And what I found interesting is that your mom was more the spiritual leader and
Yeah.
in that regard, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think my dad just kind of had the upbringing, of like he's the provider. I mean, he showed up, he was a good father and everything. I respect the man entirely, but his basis was and principles were like he believed entirely, right? That was his upbringing as well. But yeah, he didn't. He was like, let's just go get it done. Like it's you versus the world. I'm at work. And I feel like a lot of that, honestly, Clayton, probably stemmed from schedules to an extent. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but my dad worked 10, 12-hour days, especially when we were younger. You come back home, and have time off, and weekends and everything. But I kind of feel like she might have taken that role because of the situation more, but it's hard to say. I guess she had the time. She was the one at home with us all day. She was the one to take us to school and have these sort of the setting allowed a little more time for that role to kind of just flow.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where it could have stemmed from some more.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, especially with today's society. It's very rare that even the mom can stay in the home. Usually both parties gotta work to provide nowadays, and I think that's on purpose, but that's another topic for another time. Okay, so you kinda grew up with it, sounds like, and, what was that moment, though, where you knew of God, you knew all about him to a certain extent, whatever church has to say, you knew he loved you and he died for you, but what was the moment for you that changed you to actually live out and walk and start changing your mind and your thoughts and your behaviors to be more in line with the Christian principle?
Yeah. So little over 2 years ago, man. I had just gotten back to my house. After the transition with the kids and everything, they had moved out. I got back into my house. I still hadn't seen them yet. I was still waiting for some kind of just court things and the whole shebang. And I didn't know what to do. I was just like all over the place. Clayton, I even so I kind of feel like a big thing with your pain, like who you are is what you do with your pain. I feel like that really decides, that's a big factor in who you are as a person. So I was like, all right, do I need to hit the bottle? Do I need to, do I
Mhm.
need to exercise? Do I need to where do I take it out? So I made a big poster, and this was my way of trying to cope with it at first. And I wrote on the poster, I can talk or I can listen. And I would go down to the mall and I would just sit there with the poster at the mall because I was in so much mental pain. And I would all right, maybe I can help somebody else through this and they can help me as well, have somebody to converse with, have the conversation. And then from there, I realized just okay, I'm helping others, but this isn't it's always kind of been my calling in general. I mean, you know me, how I am with people. I've always been just like a servant man and just kind of love people. But I
Very
was at
outgoing.
yeah, yeah, almost too social sometimes, dude.
Social butterfly.
Flat my way, a monarch, the biggest one.
Yeah.
And but I was at my house, dude, and I was about to drink. I was about to just start drinking, and then I leaned over my this little island thing in my kitchen, and I'm just breathing, and I was like, no. And then I just felt like God's presence very strong. He just told me no blatantly. It's like, no, that's not what you need. You don't need to drink. You don't need. I felt just comforted, not like scolding father or something. It was like, no, I love you, and your kids need the best version of you. Whenever you get them back, they need you to be strong. I want you to walk with me. You know what I mean? I want you to rely on me. He was made me feel and understand and just overcame me with so much love that I was just man, I just knew in that moment that I need to give everything that I have. And he was just just give it. And from there, I just I did just day and night in that moment. He finally calmed my state of mind, and I was able to get into a place where I just I was at ease. You're good. Everything just connected. He helped me process think it. What was, you know what I mean? These emotions aren't going to go away, but there's nothing you could do about them. He answered everything that I had, all these doubts and stress and overbearing weight that I just felt you know what I mean? He just took it all in that moment. And I was I've never had that feeling just from talking to somebody, being around somebody, and that was just an immediate, oh man, okay. And from there, that's what saved me literally, from that moment and there. And I was like, no, I need to start walking the walk. I need to try my best. You know what I mean? I'm gonna fall
Mhm.
short, obviously, but I need to work at it. That this is the meaning of life. This is where the value is. And if I follow him, everything else since then, Clayton is lined up. Any little thing that I feel I'm gonna fall short in or something's gonna be a problem, he throws me a little something, a little carriage package, like in Call of Duty, just drops down, dude, and I'm like, dang, again, you showing up, no matter what, you know what I mean? As long as I keep doing my best to align with him, and so from there I'm like, no, you doubt it, but I don't need to have any doubts for anything. He's always showing up. So that's kind of where that relationship established, and I was like, I need to do it. I need to reach more people. I want them to feel what I felt. Maybe they're going through some crap. I need to help them.
Yeah, you're very outgoing in that way. I watch some of the reels you do, just messing around, goofing around, trying to make people laugh. And laughter is definitely what we need. It's of God for sure. It's funny you mentioned the care package in Call of Duty, and it's so true. It's like when you need it and you're desperate, that's when he gives it. You know what I mean? Because if you don't need it and you're not desperate, then you're prideful in some sort of sense. You're like, I can do it or I don't need it. And in that sense, you kind of don't turn to him. It's when you're at your lowest, you finally turn to him and he's like, okay, here you are. He still has his hand out, even though all those times you pushed him away. So it was with those care packages though, they got enemies surrounding him too, waiting
No
for
doubt.
him. Yeah,
Yeah. No
and I
doubt,
feel
man.
like those are like those spiritual enemies that come into your head and be like, "Ah, you don't need it," or "Do it, Josh, do it," you know? Yeah, "Pick
Yeah.
up the bottle and drink," or, whatever
I think that's
when you're
called
going
schizophrenia.
well,
Yep.
that'll be another topic because I can't be the only one that's schizophrenic around here.
Right.
So cool, he kinda took some weight off your shoulders on maybe doubt and
Yeah,
frustration
for sure,
with
dude.
kinda what's going on in your life. Was there anything that you felt like you couldn't quit, like a habit or an addiction that he's working on you with or he's already freed you from?
Chewed. He pushed me through the last end on whether or not I was gonna choose to continue chewing tobacco. And that was big. I chewed since I was 16.
I
Dude,
remember.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
all the time, man. All right, cherry skull, wintergreen. I think it was even so bad. Matt, dude, picked up a can once, man, and drank some when we were
Oh,
snowboarding.
yeah, I think
Oh,
I
dude, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, not a terrible habit, dude, and it's expensive, and like I just would pray, man. I'm like, God, like I really need to quit this. Like, I do not want to wake up one day and have like
mouth cancer or something.
cancer, dude, something, man. So bad, dude. My nicotine levels were spiked, dude. They were like my body just literally constantly fighting it off every single day. Imagine that. That's like being sick 24/7, dude, for 15 years is what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Immune system's
100%.
constantly pushing. So that helped, dude. I prayed, man, and I figured out like a way, and I was like, if I want to do it, I got to do it for me, and I got to do it for, like just for my kids, my well being. Treat our body like a temple. He talks about in the Bible, and those are things that we need to do. And then currently, too, man, I think most current one probably alcohol, dude. But like for me, it was never like an issue of I need it. It would turn into like you remember me. It would be like a social thing, right? I'm gonna go drink, and I would overdo it, like I did. I could do everything in my life, right?
Yeah,
So there was a big issue with that for sure, dude. Even the first couple months, I was going out, dude. I would go socialize, and then I would get back home, and I would end up, having a few too many. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it would just, like to the point where it's like a lot. So luckily nothing came of it, but you never know, dude. You know what I mean? When you're at that state, it's like you're destroying yourself. You're not in your own mind, your own state of mind. And I think I'm finally, in the last several months, kind of in a place where I haven't succumbed to kind of these. I need to go out. I got to go have fun. It was like, I knew I didn't need it, you know what I mean? But it was just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm free again, I was in the 8-year topic for another day, but, 8-year mental prison is what it felt like for my last relationship, and I just was like, I overdid it a little bit, you know what I mean? So I feel like definitely my relationship with him, he helps me see like, nah, dude, like you don't need this. You have so many goals, you have so many other things you can focus on. Don't spend your time and waste your next day being hungover, dude. Like you have so much to give to the world, and that's not something you need to waste your time with anymore. And so I mean, yeah, I'll have some drinks now, but it's significantly even lessened after a when I first came out of the relationship 2 years ago. Um, the first at least year, dude, was a bit sloppy, quote unquote.
Isn't it interesting that like, what do you think that is when you drink and you just become, like, this whole different person? Like, like, I know for one of our good buddies, he would not be able to talk to the other sex without getting hammered, and there's a lot of people out there that are like that. but like something interesting about, in other countries they call alcohol spirits, and so I find that very interesting that maybe there's a spiritual realm to the things that we consume.
I got some information on that. I think I could gladly kind of maybe think about or attest to. So my thoughts. So I mean, obviously, initially, yeah, right. That was his first miracle. Jesus, he turned water into wine. So I mean, yeah, it's there, right? There's a substance, some sort of thing that alters the mind chemistry. But the Bible, I remember reading on it, and it talks about like it's an issue when you like you're drinking it too much and then it takes away your own ability, your own discernment to make decisions. Like having a drink or two is okay. Like you're still yourself. It hasn't altered your brain to make these poor decisions. And where does sin come from? Comes from altered minds. We're dumb. We're using drugs. We're not in the right state of mind. We're weak. We're lusting over this person, that thing, right? We need this brand new car, right? So, like, the basis of that is like that just amplifies our problems, dude. If we're in the wrong state of mind and we're already fallen, we're already broken, natured. So that's what it says. Don't lean on our own understanding, right?
Hmm.
'Cause as much
Yeah,
as we want to process things ourselves, we still need to like correlate it to the Bible and be like, okay, well, am I seeing this, the right way that I should see it, right? And pull it from there. And but I think I could don't quote me on this, but it could be kind of in the realm of it. But like, yeah, like spirits. I think it talks about when you're in that state, like it's almost like the devil's now in the driving seat for you because you're not you anymore. You're at your weakest, most vulnerable point. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you're intoxicated. So, whoop, who better than to kind of take the driving seat with it? And I feel like a lot of our personalities and wants and desires just come out easier, but it's because we're not ourselves anymore, right? Like if you like you said, you can't talk to women, but you're all of a sudden confident, when you had a few
yeah,
beers. It's like you want to be that, but you can't be it without it. So it's like it draws you to be that more, to want to do that. It's like a societal norm to go and party and drink. People are used to it because we're so far away from knowing how to just socialize and have conversations like this without the use of drugs. It's just so normalized nowadays. Like you need it. It's like your brain, like, oh, everybody else is doing it. I got to do it too. Got to have some drinks. And I feel like a lot of that was for me in college too, man. And it's just like it just goes hand in hand. You don't view it the wrong way, but it's really not, dude. Like I've been on the other end where I've been at bars and been sober, and I've seen people like drunk and sloppy, and I'm like, man, that's just like a havoc. You just can see just problems coming from that, dude. Like, I'm like, and I was that guy, man, you know, many
yeah,
times. And I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? I never like intentionally wanted to ever harm anybody, but still, dude, like, there's so many issues that can stem from that, dude. And you're just physically, mentally, I think I don't know, societal thing, dude, like traumas that people have, it's just a lot to it, dude. I don't think one shoe fits all for that answer, but I think at the end of the day is necessary, and I think it probably causes more harm than it does good for most people.
yeah. 100%. Shoot, I witnessed that as, a young child. My parents, they were good old alcoholics, and boy, they were totally different people when they weren't drinking. But
Yeah,
as
dude.
soon as those beers started to open and the shots started flowing, I knew where to go. I knew to go to my room and just hunker down for the rest of the night into the morning.
Yeah.
So, and alcohol, they always talk about weed being the gateway drug and all this stuff. But I mean, what's the first drug you've ever taken, as soon as you can? It's alcohol. And then alcohol leads to all the rest of them, really, and depending on how deep you go with your substances. But yeah,
It's
that
the
one's the
most easily
most.
accessible one, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
just about to say.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, that's good. Let me see here. Kind of just going off the cuff with this. I don't want to hammer you too much with that. What if we go into a little bit of eschatology for the people that maybe are going to be listening to this and they're Christians and have been for a long time, and they understand that we have you know, been saved and saved from many different things, but they have maybe questions about certain verses in the Bible and then I'd say reading your Bible. How often do you read your Bible?
I've been more consistent recently, but I would say at least 3 to 4 times a week, man. I pray in the morning, I pray at night. go to church. I go to Bible study Sunday nights too. So I mean, the whole mix. Sometimes I'll hop on the app on my phone, but it kind of varies, man. But like anybody else, I'm still a work in progress. I'm not always consistent with the 3 to 4 times. Sometimes it's 5 times, sometimes it's twice. Inexcusable, but right around that range, man. Probably just I work through different verses. And I'm in John right now. I think the back
John.
end of it. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book yet within
Um.
the Bible?
Honestly, if I had to choose, man, probably I think the one that's most relatable, I don't know if relatable is the right word, but it's something that's the most understandable and it really applies and it's a simple, quick fix to like reading something and then being like, "Oh, is it Proverbs?" Where it's like the little um like
Small
quotes,
sentences.
sentences for the day. I love that, man. Like,
I don't even know if they're sentences. I mean, I
I
mean,
know
I
what you mean.
guess you consider they're sentences.
I think from a non-story based platform, I mean, I like Paul's story, man. That one's powerful, dude. Like, that's just strong, man. Like to have do a full 360 like that. But I just
Go
like,
from go from killing Christians to
yeah,
becoming one?
that's what a beautiful story, man. To show like the most broken, like, non-God fearing person go to like the most God fearing person, But I like that dude specifically because it's helpful and it's quick. I can read a passage and I can reflect on it and I can be like, ah, you know what I mean? Like that's cool. And then and it always applies to some level in my life, and there's
Yeah.
so many of them, dude. So I love going through them and just like pondering on them.
Well, what's cool about Proverbs is it was written by, King Solomon.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, that guy had it all. I mean, he had countless wives and concubines and gold up to, above his head. He had everything he ever wanted, wealthiest person in the world,
Mm. Right.
and he writes, I think it's Ecclesiastes. I might be getting my book wrong here, but in that one, it's like one of the saddest books in the Bible because it's like nothing means anything. It's all pointless.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just such a gloomy thing, and that's him as he realizes that all his fame and fortune and as many women as he could have, it all really doesn't mean anything, and you just wake up the same, and that to me is relatable because, I mean, how many times, like you were saying earlier, have we gotten a new truck or gun or car or person in our life,
Yeah.
and, you're still dealing with the same things internally that you think something else externally is gonna solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does for a little bit, it brings you a little bit of happiness and,
Right.
short-term fixes for a long-term problem, right?
100%, dude. And that's cool that you bring that up too, man. That's crazy because I'm in a kind of odd reflective state of myself about my own accolades and achievements for life. Because I'm like torn. I'm like, I know I need to like put most of my efforts to God. So I'm trying to like correlate the things that I do to like give him all the glory, right? And do everything like that. But it's like, man, like what direction? I feel like sometimes my own personal accolades still override. Man, do I need to care enough to even want to do this when in 100 years from now Jesus is gonna return, and light this place up or something, like when and
Yeah.
everything won't even matter that I did, you know what I mean? But I think as long as I do it like in a glorifying way or in a way that's like, I mean, because I don't want to go through life either with out trying to do certain things because he gave us so many people go through life and they never try anything, man. They're scared, and then they die. I don't want to have that deathbed. I want to set like a standard for my kids. I want to be able to have like, okay, like Josh, when I pass away, if this world's still here, like Josh was a man. Like I want for people to be able to remember, and I want to be some sort of like positive influence, even if it's one person, man. Like one person's a victory to me, dude. You know what I mean? Saving one person, helping one person, and I want to be like remembered by that. So in a way, like it is important, but in the other sense, it's like we still fall short, and realistically, it's still not going to matter as many high end achievements that we obtain in this life.
Yeah,
Still
it's all kinda
just goes back to the world's going to burn and end, just like everything else created. All going to end up in the same spot or down south, but I plan
well,
to go north.
that is something interesting. There's quite a few things I wanna go on with what you just said, but just throwing a blank.
It's because I
I
talk a lot.
mean, well, yeah, you short circuit my brain, dude, because
Yeah.
you said a lot of good things that I'd love to piggyback off of. Well, I was gonna say that, like, when you become a follower of God and you start to learn these things, you have this, like, conflicting battle,
No
which
doubt.
is like, should I care? Like,
Mm,
God doesn't care about me being a CEO. I
yes.
mean, you know what I mean? But then at the same time, you have this internal battle where you wanna be the best at something, right?
Yes. 100%, dude.
And at the same time, I think we can fall victim to that and maybe even feel guilty for wanting to be the best at something. But at the same time, we're created in his image, and there's no way that, he isn't wanting the best for us. It's just what we think is the best might be different
For
than
sure.
what is the best. And that kind of goes to like storing your treasures up in heaven. So you said something about saving somebody. What's the one thing you can do that stores your treasures in heaven and will never fade away? Saving somebody's soul,
Somebody's soul. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, dude.
You
That's
can build all the kingdoms in the world, you can be the wealthiest person in the world, and people may remember you, but just like there's a parable where God is talking about, the Pharisees are trying to give him some crap about, doing miracles on the Passover, and he's like, "Which one of you, if their sheep got out, would you not go for it?" And then and he's like, "Assertively, I say to you, like, God will rejoice in heaven for that one that is saved more than the 99 that don't need saving," right?
mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
your treasure in heaven. So when you do that, you're storing treasures in heaven. And I think that's those are the things that never pass away. It's okay to also want people to think good of you here on earth, but I don't think that should be our number one goal, even though that's what we've been told since the very beginning of our existence here on this earth. And that's why coming to God, it's literally it contradicts everything you've ever learned or known in some sort of fashion,
Mm.
which is that struggle. That's what I've noticed. But
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the good part, more from a sense of like not for to have the spotlight, but like influentially, you know what I mean? Like maybe like I look like for a little example, like I know you're a good arm wrestler, you've been doing it a long time. I look up to you in that in many other regards too, but also, arm wrestling, dude. Like you've been doing a long time and I got into it, a little bit and I was like, this is cool. And the example for this is like I want to be like known or remembered like somebody's like you could it's influential like Jesus. Okay, it's a better example. So like we remember him, historical documents, you read the Bible, he influences us in such a positive way and he's not even here. You know what I mean? Not just because he wants to be remembered. That's not his aim. His aim is to try and be like him, you know what I mean? Try and be follow, do what's right, morally try and have these principles, like do things that's why he came here, right? Why he sent his son is so he could walk this earth and face the same challenges that we face every day, right? I mean, he cried when John got beheaded. Oh, he had felt pain, he felt sorrows, he was raised, he felt and did everything that we did.
fully
And
human,
it's
fully God. Yeah.
that's beautiful, dude. So, like, if that can inspire somebody to change or do better, that's good, dude. That's a win for and when I'm gone, you know what I mean? While on Earth or not.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And that's still mind blowing to me, man, that a singular, I mean, if you left it as him just being a man, well, that man changed the entire world, right? He influenced way past his time to
Way
current
past.
time. Like, and, timelines for things is another topic for another time. Whether it's 2000 or 3000, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he did it. And that alone should spark people's interest if they've truly understood the magnitude of what happened and why it's still around today.
Yeah,
Because what I find interesting is like, oh, you believe in God, you can't see him, or, it's this interesting concept that somehow has lasted from his time all the way till now, and people still want to disregard it,
right.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I find that pretty interesting. I mean, I'm including myself in that when I didn't grow up, around faith in any sort of way really, other than my grandparents were Catholic, but unfortunately they're kind of lost too. And I'm sorry if people watch this and they're Catholics. Um, you know, feel free to leave some comments and I'll get with you. It's not that you're not lovers of Christ. It's just that anyway, that's another thing. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. And all right. So let's kind of move on, I guess, here. So you mentioned something interesting. Now, I wanted originally to have a conversation about, because it's a big topic right now.
Yeah,
And well, to me it is because I don't know, bro. I don't know what kind of reels people are getting. I pulled away from the political scene because, as far as I'm concerned, and I did that at the beginning. Like Trump was the last president I voted for, and he'll probably be the last president I vote for ever again, just because it's all bullcrap as far as I'm concerned. What the more I've dig into it, and the more I realize, like, man, that guy talked a big game and did nothing. To keep it faith based, churches today. What do you think of churches? And if you were to think of them having gone to them, I don't know, do you still go to a Baptist church?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. What is the message preached in your church more often than anything?
So when I found a church, looking for my church, my home church, I wanted to make sure it covered the most basic principle of anything, and that is simply pulling information from the Bible, reading it as it is, not sugarcoating it, saying this, that, whatever, you can make it in. But if you go around it this way, no, you know what I mean? I'm not going to have a Pharisee based uh, Bible teaching, you know what I mean? So I just, from my church, my pastor, he's awesome. My pastor, David, at FBC. He's done an awesome job. I go in there. He pulls from the Bible. There's people that have walked out, because he's speaking, the truth, and he's saying this stuff from the Bible, right? Like I don't really know how else to put it. Like he's not taking context from like the Quran or or any other historical document or like different things and trying to infuse them or doing weird like there's one church that each to their own, you know what I mean? But at a certain point I think you got to actually seek, like that's the point of this podcast too, is seek the truth
Mhm.
and want to find it, so no, I mean, we have discernment. That's why he gives us that. You know what I mean? You pray about it, and if you're following and you're aligned with him, you should have these kind of feelings. And I see so many people bouncing around, you know what I mean? Like to different churches, and it takes a long time to get to one, and it's because they find something or they say, hey, this church wasn't very welcoming. They have cliques, you know what I mean? Or these group of people are they're kind of rude, like they look at me and they because I'm dressed a certain way, and I'm like, well, what I tell people is like, don't look at Jesus or don't blame Jesus for that. Like people represent Jesus bad all the time. It's not his fault. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
they make him look bad. Like I'm sorry that you had a bad experience with somebody or person in a church or whatever. But I mean, Jesus talks about the church. He doesn't say when he was talking to the lady at the well, he's like, where's the your church going to be established?
Yeah. So
Where's your
everyone can
dominion?
go.
It's
Yeah.
going to be, it's here, So I get that. I know you don't need a
We are
church.
the church. Yeah.
Yeah, but it creates a good foundation. I feel like it sets a good habits. You know what I mean? Like go to church, make it a point to do it. It kind of holds you accountable. It's kind of having like that accountability buddy that says, "Hey, let's go up and go to the gym, dude. Like you want to do it, like make sure you do it." So
Yeah.
that's what I like about the church, and it's definitely important and hard to find one, but find one that just pulls from the Bible. Bring your book, listen to what he's saying, listen to the message, see what he talks about. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but don't run away right away just because you don't get something. The
Yeah.
Bible's not, it's a very giant contextualized books that especially depending on the versions, there's different versions. King James is a little more rugged, raw, and you have to read it several times to get it. Other times, you know what I mean? Like it's so just find the truth, dude. Just get the Bible, man. Get the Bible, dude, and
I
open it up.
recommend getting the Apocrypha. It's 14 extra books. And I
There you
think it's
go.
very, very important
Apocryphal.
because
Sweet.
as I've been reading and going on with my walk with God, I felt led to one gain understanding, and like I said, the point of this podcast and what it's called, aim for the truth. God is the truth, the way, and the life, right? But at the end of the day, there are men down here on this earth running what are called churches, even though we are the church, right? Anywhere where two or more gathered, He is there, right? Church is great for community and getting what I would call a pick me up, because pastors, I feel like, just talk about pick me ups. Like it's a constant every Sunday reminder that God loves you and this is what He did for you. Now there's some good pastors that go out there and they put on they go a little more eschatology with it. But what I find interesting is when I question, and I've done this one church just recently, I have questions about the Bible, I get shut down, which is very interesting. Mainly Matthew and mainly like where we're at. I mean, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it has them what I'm talking about in all of them. But I'll leave that for another day. What else I find very interesting and what's very relevant today is whether the Jews of today are of the time of the Bible, right? If they're the same, if they're still the chosen people. Because I feel like what churches push and what God said in the New Testament very much contradict. It's like the support of Palestine or support of Israel. Well, we it's like and then they misconstrued the verse of, you bless Israel, you'll be blessed, right? What's your thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts on it? Have you thought about it at all? Have you heard anything about it? The Jews of today, are they our ally?
Their ally. To be honest, brother, that's more of your realm. I got to dive in a little bit more too.
The difference between Judaism and Christianity, the huge difference is one believes in Jesus and the other doesn't.
So
So,
Jesus was a Jew,
yeah, that's okay.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
But Judeo Christian values, what does that even mean?
So could there have been maybe some sort of change that just didn't get they're kind of evolved to their own understanding over years? Or do you think the Jews historically from the get-go had their own vision of how the Bible is or how they operate? Because I mean, I know a very small, I know they celebrate, what is it, the Hana?
Shabbat,
Shabbat? Explain,
Hanukkah,
what is that? Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
And those are their different dates for like Jesus is, or like explain that part to me, that piece.
I'll have to do some digging on Hanukkah and what it necessarily represents, but I know it's not has nothing to do with Jesus. They don't believe in Jesus. So yeah,
Okay. Right.
as far as I can find out, is they have two different sects of Jews. You have the Jews that believe in the first five books, which the Old Testament, basically, and they call that the Torah, right?
Yeah,
And
Torah.
then you and then you have a sect of Jews that believe in the Talmud.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
And the Talmud is definitely not a friend of Christianity in any sort of
It's rugged.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll show you some stuff within the Talmud here shortly. But what I believe, so, if we take it to Jesus's time shortly after his crucifixion, well, before it, I mean, he's telling the Pharisees that, the parable of the vineyard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so the vineyard is Jerusalem or heaven. You can put it either way. And the workers or the tenants of the vineyard are the Israelites, right? These sect of high ranking temple, the Pharisees. And the people that he sends to collect rewards, right? The fruit they kill, right? And so that could be, I don't think they killed Moses, but they killed all the other prophets, right? And Jesus is like, every time I've sent you somebody, you've killed them. And now I'm going to send you. And now the tenant's son is coming and you're going to kill him too. And because of this, you're cut off, right? And we're grafted in as Gentiles. And that's why Paul eventually starts to go, preach to the Gentiles, which is just us non-Jews. But what I find interesting today is that almost every church I go to and the people within it support the Jews of today. So you got I would say your Pharisee type of Jews are the Talmud, and you got your very minuscule, very small portion Jews that believe in the Old Testament, which is only the first five books. I think some of them have Ezekiel, Isaiah. So what I find interesting is well, here, let me share a video with you,
I had a
okay?
question on,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, shoot.
Like, what is the initial basis for them not wanting to believe the New Testament? Is it like around surrounding the disciples that in that time?
Well,
What is that?
because honestly, that's a good question. No, what I know is that believing in Jesus for them is a problem. They thought he was going to be some sort of warrior, and they were going to free them from Rome, right? He was going to be like this military figure, and Jesus was everything but opposite of that. He was opposite of everything that they thought. But there
Yeah.
was a bunch of Jews that did know who he was, right? And guess all those Jews were commoners. They were the poor class, right? Everyone, like especially if you watch the show, everyone was like, "Oh, the Messiah, the Messiah, the Messiah." They knew because they were keeping up to date. What you have to remember is during those times, they had to go to the synagogue, church, to learn the Bible. Very few people could read, write. And so they only knew what the synagogue was telling them about who was coming. But there's a huge sect that saw him and knew him to be the savior. And what's interesting is I really wish, if I had a time machine, I would definitely go back. And that would be the time period I'd go back 100%, the day he walked, or the 30 years he was walking, 33 years, and just watch what truly really happened. But then you got your rich Jews, right? They're taxing their own people. The Romans are getting, taxing them. And you just have a separation of beliefs at this point. And I think this goes back before Jesus even came. It goes, I want to say King Saul, because King Saul he left God and started worshiping false deities like Baal and stuff,
So Jesus' reign was what, like about 2,000 years ago? So he were like a couple hundred
somewhere
years
around there.
before that.
And then there's another king though that reigns, and oh man, I'm really messing. I need to next time I'll take some notes that I have this conversation, so I'm a little more on topic. But what's so interesting? Okay, Jesus is born, and you hear the story of the wise men. It's told all Christmas, right? Especially in churches. The wise men are Gentiles. They're not Jews, so they know of God. But this is supposedly supposed to be a only Jewish God, right? Only the Jews kind of really know what's going on. It's their God. Every other sect is usually either pagan or doesn't believe in anything, right? But for some reason, that's probably why they're called wise men, know of Jesus. They followed a star and went and gave him his gifts. The fact that they're Gentiles blows my mind, to be honest. And what else I find interesting is the king that was trying to kill Jesus and in turn slaughtered tons of babies was a Jew.
Well, it wasn't it was the reign before Moses. Yeah, I know the name. You're trying to think of the king's name too for it. Is that what you were trying to get earlier?
Yeah.
The king that slaughtered. Yeah,
King
man.
Herod, I think is King
Yeah, I
Herod.
think that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
King Herod
kill
was trying
all the
to kill
boys.
Jesus, right?
And then he said all the kids, right? Like all the boys, the males,
All the
kids,
yeah,
newborn males.
yep, newborn males. Like, imagine being the soldiers to carry that out. Also, like, if he's your God and he's your savior, why are you killing him? You know what I mean? And how did these Gentiles from halfway across the world, took 2 years for them to get there. How did they know to start following a star and go meet God in human form? How do they know about that? I feel like there's some holes that we need to be filled in. Like, how did these people know? And then why would a Jewish king try to, their Messiah? Because it's not in there. It's not it's not their Messiah. So there's a couple verses. I think one's in Revelation, and it says, "Those who call themselves Jews but are not." Right? Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, you're good. Mm.
Actually, I need to get I have a Bible that's in my concrete truck. That's where I have the most time, and that's where I highlight everything. But I don't have that with me right now. But so you have the parable of the vineyard telling them you're no longer you're no longer the children of Israel, right? And then you've lost your inheritance. You have them calling them the synagogue of Satan. You have Jesus saying, those who call themselves Jews but are not. Oh, it says your recording has stopped.
My